any problems you are facing in creating, working, so that we can give the corrections for that. So we discussed how to create a new React application and how to start the application. We discussed the basic flow. Now today, what we are going to learn is in this application, how we can build our own components and design an app. Already we designed one Netflix like screen in previous environment. There what we have done, we have everything designed in one page. But we need to design in a project environment using one concept. So if you have already learned JavaScript, in JavaScript, you need to be perfect in a concept called module system. Because from today we are going to use that module system. If already you learned module system, it is good. But anyhow, in this class, I will give a small overview of the module system. Because anyone who is not aware of module system, he will know about the concept and you can use in React. So what we are going to learn today first is, before working in our project, to work in our React application, we need to know about JavaScript module system. So first I am going to give a simple overview on this module system because we have to use this every day in our projects. Majority people who learn JavaScript, they already know about it, but still if anyone missed this concept, for them I am giving one more time a clarity on this so that you will have a ideas you can use and work in our JavaScript. Let's see what is JavaScript module system, what is the concept of module system. First important point you should know, in the introduction also I told you, you are designing a JavaScript file and you are linking a JavaScript file to your page. In that JavaScript file, you are writing lot of functions. That is not a correct process in real-time environment. In real-time environment, writing functions and linking the file to the HTML pages is not good. What is good is modular approach. So what is the meaning of the word module is, module means part by part. So I will show you one concept. In the introduction, I explained this. Today we will see detailedly. You can go into the same project that you created. Yesterday we created React demo app, na? Right. Now observe carefully here. Is so for your understanding sake, temporarily I will create a folder called JavaScript to show you some JavaScript concepts which are required for our React. I will add a page called home.html. This is a HTML page and we have some paragraph. We will add one script file inside this home.js. In this JS file, we are creating a function. Some hello is one function and it returns some welcome or say hello. We have another function welcome and it is returning some welcome. Now we want to use these functions in our HTML page. So earlier what we were doing, we were linking the files, na? Script source, it is coming from home.js. And what we do, we will write a script and here we will have a function body load. On body load, we have to get the paragraph and inside the paragraph we want to display, so the function called hello. Now we have to write on load. What is it? Body load. So when I run this, actually this is going to execute and display the hello inside paragraph. So that is a general concept that we do in JavaScript. But in real world project environment, this is not a good approach. Why it is not a good approach? Because home.js is a file which is having two functions. One is hello, another one welcome. Currently in our page, we are using only which function? Hello. That means you are linking a file with hundreds of functions, but you are using only one function. That is not good for application. That means you are loading unnecessarily all the functions, but you are not using them. So this is not the right way to use JavaScript in real world project. Then what is the right way? I will show, we'll see that point. The best way is to use a module system. Actually, what is module system is module refers to a portion of code. Module refers to a portion of code. So modular refers to part by part. Modular refers to part by part. Refers to part by part. It allows to use only the required for application. Only the required code for application. Means in simple terms, it allows to use only the required code for application. It makes the application lightweight and faster. So what is the concept of modular system is a modular system allows to use only what is needed for the situation. That means don't include everything, don't load everything, only load only what is needed for your project, for your application. These days, all technologies are following this. Do you know earlier, even technologies like Java, .NET, Python, all these technologies are legacy type. Majority, all technologies are earlier legacy type. Legacy means they used to have a library. You import a library, but you use only few from that library. This mechanism is called legacy. Now, from past few years, all technologies changed themselves into modular. Modular means they design library in such a way that only the library that is needed for that situation will be loaded. It will improve the performance. It makes the application lightweight. Why they have to design this type of modular library? Because now people are using apps on different devices. Suppose a PC have a huge bandwidth, but a mobile have less bandwidth. That means when an app comes to mobile, it should not include everything which is not being used. Then it becomes heavy. So that is the reason all technologies are now following modular approach. Now JavaScript also have modular approach. How? We will see how to use the modular approach. Now important in JavaScript, what is a module? In JavaScript, every JavaScript file is considered as a module. You create a .js file, then it is considered as a module. So technically, what is a module in JavaScript? So technically, every JavaScript file is considered as a module. Technically, every JavaScript file is considered as a module. That means we have some home.js roughly. That means you are using a home module. So we are using some index.js. That means it is a index module. Every JavaScript file is considered as a module. So JavaScript file is considered as module. Now the point is, in a module, what you can have in a JavaScript file, technically what we can have: function, only function. A JavaScript file can have variables, functions, classes. You have classes also. Generally, some other languages can have interfaces, abstract classes, but in JavaScript, we don't have. In a JavaScript module, it can have variables, it can have functions, and it can have classes. So technically, a module in JavaScript comprises of comprises of variables, functions, and classes. So in a JavaScript module, you can have variables, functions, and classes. So a JavaScript module can have variables, functions, and classes. So you can define variables, functions, and classes. Let's see. Suppose here in the home, I will delete all this old approach. This is the old approach. I removed it and the page is again empty. Now I will go here. I will declare a variable called some message is equal to some hello JavaScript. And what I will do is I will make it return this message. Am I right? I'm having like this. That means in a JavaScript file, you can have a variable, you can have a function. We can access these variables and functions in such a way that we can add only what we need. That means, for example, anything you can keep. Let's do one thing. Suppose I will put var title is equal to JavaScript module system. This is a variable. I want to use this variable. There may be so many variables. Where suppose message is equal to, so module system allows some reusability, extensibility, like this some message is there. Now what I want is, I want these two variables to use in my page. In a heading, I want to display the title. In paragraph, I want to display the message. Then how do we access and use them here? We will not link the file. Without linking the file, how we can use them is, we have to write a script. And this script type it must be module. The script type must be module. And what you can do is, if you want to use this variable outside this file, then you have to mark it as export. Export. export, you have to mark it as export. So every member that you defined in a JavaScript file is accessible only in that file. It's not accessible outside. If you want to access outside from another location, you have to mark it as what? Export. Anything. If you don't mark it export, you can't access outside. You can use only here. That means now I am marking title as export. If it is marked as export, you can directly import here. We can import which one? Title. Title we can import from which file? Dot slash, what is the file name? Home.js. So that file has imported the variable. Now you want to present this variable in heading na? Document, here we have document dot query selector. Which one? H1. H1 have a text content. In that we will put the title. And you can see that it is going to print that. That means now very important, I am accessing document dot query selector and I say paragraph dot text content. I am displaying MSG message, but it is not available. You see in the inspect, when I go here to the console to show error, it says message is not defined. Why message is not defined? We are not importing na? So we will import that message. Understood? We imported, but still it is not accessible because it is not exported. Na? So what we have to do is we have to mark this as what? Export. Now it is accessible. It will display. This is a very basic technique. We use JavaScript like this anywhere in the world in real-time projects. We will not link files and use them. That's legacy type, old technique. Angular, React, Vue, every technology have to follow this modular system. Without knowing this, you can't work with Angular or React like technologies because everything is modular approach. So what is the first basic point? You can have variables, functions, classes. But what is the point here is module module members are not accessible outside the module scope. So you have to mark them as export. You have to mark them as export in order to import and use in any location. So that means export variable, some title is equal to something. Export function, some name. Export class, some name. That means variables or functions or classes that you want to use outside module, they must be marked as export. So it's not mandatory that every member should be export. Sometimes we use members inside only, means inside the same file. For some reusability we declare some functions, they don't need to be defined with export. One more point is there here. So when to export? While declaring itself, you can export. After declaring, you can export. While declaring, if you are exporting, just export is enough. But after declaring, if you want to export, for example, see, now this paragraph, this message I am not exporting. If I am not exporting the message, you can see message is not working now. Okay, what I can do is after declaring, later I can export. If you want to export after declaration, then you have to mark it as export default message. So when to use default? When you want to export after declaration. You declared, later somewhere you want to export and use it. Then you can just make it as what? Export. But here we cannot use just export. Here we cannot use just export. It is invalid. We have to export as what? Default. But problem is, like this, you can have only one default export inside a module. Every module can have only one default export. And remember, when anything is default exported, you see still it is not working. Why? Because default exported member cannot be imported like inside the block. It should be imported outside the block. Default member must be imported outside the block, not inside the block. Now you mention MSG outside. Now you can see it is okay. So it works fine. Now, very important here, if I try to define, suppose export I will remove here and I will try to use this export. What is it? Default, another one, title. It's not possible because a module cannot have multiple default exports. A module can have only one default export. So you export all of them while declaring. But later you want to export, then it can be done only with one. So this important rule you should know. While exporting, this is important. You export and you define. And when it is default, it cannot be inside the block. It should be outside the block. So while you are importing, so this is another point. So here, importing importing a member from module depends on module system. It depends on module system. Importing a member from module depends on module system. Actually, JavaScript have various module systems. Module systems like we have common JS, we have ES module, we have UMD, universal module distribution. We have like AMD, asynchronous module distribution. These are all different module systems. I already told you that different technologies use different module systems. In React, you saw it is using UMD na. If you are using JavaScript inside browser, JavaScript inside browser uses ES module. And remember, in every module system, importing and using is different process. For example, how you import, we have to use import We have to use variable name, function name, am I right? So we have to use a class name from module.js. Actually, in other module systems, we define a reference name is equal to require and module.js. And through reference name, we can access variable or we can access function like that. That means these are two techniques. So import, by using import statement, you can import. By using require statement, you can import. This import statement is used in ES modules, common JS modules, not common JS, UMD. So here, this is used in which systems? ES module, UMD, AMD. And this is used in common JS. In common JS module system, we import the members by using a require method. In other module systems, we import by using that import word, by using import. So we are having import here. So in UMD, AMD, the library is imported by using which statement? Import. In other module systems, it is done by using require. So we don't need this. So majority our module system will be using import statement. It is using import statement. So one more thing you learned here. So you have to export a member. You have to export a member while declaring. You have to export a member while declaring. So if you want to export after declaration, then it must be a default export. Then it must be a default export. That means some var title is equal to some welcome. And if you want to export later, then we have to write export default and title. While declaring itself, I showed you above now. So we have to use export title. This is another technique. So, but here what is the rule? Every module can have only one default export. Every module can have only one default export. You can have only one default export. So one more point is that how to import default export. So you can import default export outside the import block, outside the import block, but it should be inside import scope only. So import title, and it is from home.js. Suppose I written like this. This is invalid if title is default. Am I right? Then how do we import? Import directly title from home.js. This is valid. This is valid for default members. There is no question like if I have more than one default members. You can't have na default members can be only one. So another important is you can import default members with others, but make sure that default is the first import. Order is also important. Huh? Default is the first import. What does it means? So you are importing here others, and you put title, and you put here from. Am I right? So from home.js, this is not valid. This is invalid. Am I? Why? Because you have to import title before others. Na? That's important. From and home.js. This is valid. That's important. Remember, this is all JavaScript. Unfortunately, if you haven't learned this level of JavaScript, you are not suitable for React. That's the reason I am explaining this topic to people who are not aware of it. Because these are all JavaScript topics. JavaScript module system, OOP concepts, classes, functions, these are all JavaScript things. So I'm one more time repeating that concept because we have to daily use this in our React. So you need to know how to export and how to import. One more important point here. Another important point is, can we import more than one? Yes, na? Right. So here see, another important concept is here, if you want to import, if you want to import all members from a module, then you have to use aliasing technique. You have to use the aliasing method. If you want to import all of them and use, then you have to use aliasing technique, because sometimes a library contains hundreds of functions. Importing every function is compulsory, mandatory. We want to use all of them. Then importing every individual is difficult. Then what you can do is, see, I will copy here like this. Suppose I will remove this and I will mark both as what? Export. We want to import both of them and use them. Then what you can do is actually, so asterisk as alias name. That means you can put an alias name. Asterisk as import asterisk as library from home.js. As is used for aliasing. That means asterisk refers to all elements. Na? So what it does is it imports all the members of that functions, means from that module, and it will be accessible with which reference? Now title is not directly accessible. So we have to access by using library dot title, and here we have to access library dot message. That means it is able to access all the members in the same way. Am I right? So we can import all the members by using this asterisk. Any specific you can do. This technique also comes so many times because in React we import libraries. Sometimes we want few functions, sometimes we want all. Then we have to use this technique. So here we have a technique, import asterisk as, so alias name from the module name. Through alias name, you can access variable. Alias name, you can access function or a class. We can access all the members. If you have many members and you want to import and use them, this is option. One more point is that this aliasing is important to reduce ambiguity issues. For example, you are importing from two different modules, then again issue will come. For example, let's see here. I will remove this, and this is home.js. I am having a function, export function. Title is a function. It returns, it returns home page as title. Am I right? Okay. And I am having another JavaScript file that is login.js export function, and this is having also title. Title is a function in home and login, but they return different. This will return login page. Am I right? Now I want to use both of them in this home and print inside heading. Right? So I'm using import. What to import? Title from which file? So we have to import from home.js. Another we have to import. What is it? Title. This is also title, but from another file. What is it? Login.js. Now what is the problem is document.query selector heading. In the heading text content is title. Now it is confused about this title. Right? Because both are having then C already declared. But our intention is to use both of them. This is ambiguous issue. Now what we do is simple. We have to import title as, we have to import the title as we have to give a reference name. This is home title. Understood? And this title as, what is it? Login title. Then you can print the home title or login title we want here. This is home title you are printing, then it will display only home. You are printing login title, so then it is going to use only login title, or you can use both. In one heading, one, in another heading, another, you can define. So if two different modules have same name members, then problem will come. This often happens because you see, you learned JavaScript string. In JavaScript string, we have a slice method, right? And same method is in array also. So two different libraries have same method. Index of, slice, split, these are all present in different libraries. So we want to use them, then you have to use aliasing. So one more important is you can import members from multiple modules. You can import members from multiple modules. If different modules have same name members, then it leads to ambiguity. Then it leads to ambiguity. You can handle ambiguity issues by aliasing. You can handle ambiguity issues by aliasing. Import some roughly I am giving title as home title from home.js. Import title as login title from login.js. Right. So these are all the basic things you need to know about module system. You learned what is a module system. You understood the concept that if we have to maintain files separately, then we have to export, import, and use. If we are having same name members, how to alias, right? So this basic knowledge is enough. Now we can use this in our React. So you learned how to export, import, how to configure default, and how to alias and all. Then let's see how to use this in our project. I'm not giving any JavaScript example. I just explained the concept of JavaScript for you to use in React to make you understand what is export, import, and default and alias. You understood all these points, huh? Right. Now let's see how to use this in our React. So for your reference sake, temporarily in the notes, I will upload these files just for your reference. Home.js is having this code, and login.js is having this code just for your reference sake, and home.html is importing and using them. Okay. Just for your reference sake, I given this. So you need to know what is a module system and how it is used in our projects. Let's see how to do this in our application. So let's go to our React project. Now already we are in this React project. Now yesterday you saw that by default one component is starting na? By default it starts with a component. Now we will see how to create our own components and how we define the components, right? Let's see. So for that, what are the rules? Let's run the project first. How to run the project? From terminal you have to run the command npm run dev. It is going to start the project and open that particular IP and it will get you this screen. Now actually here we want our own component. So what we will do is we will clean up all the default CSS. By default, they have some CSS. You clean up all the CSS. So what you do is, so otherwise you will be confused a little bit. So clean up index.css app.css code in your project. So that means, so make the files empty without any code, because by default your project is having some CSS. It will affect everywhere. We will put our own. So clean up these two files. So go to index.css. In the project, you will find the CSS app.css. Clean up this. We don't need it. Okay. One more, index.css. Clean up this also. Keep them empty. And now your page looks normal. That's normal. Na? So we will learn how to add our own styles, right? How do we configure our own styles? We will see. So first you do this. Now let's see how to add our own components. So in React, how to add components. Now we will see components in React 19 app. How to add components in React 19 application. So first important is every component is a function and must be inside, must be configured inside .jsx file. Every component is a function and it must be configured inside .jsx file, because here we don't use directly JavaScript, we use JSX. And key point is every component can have three files. Every component can have three files. .jsx for design and for design and logic. .css for styles. Another one is .test.js. So test.js, or it can have spec.js. This is for testing. So for testing, these two files will be there. Any of these files, spec.js or test.js. So professionally in a real time project, when you see a component, you may see every component have three files. In one file they put the design and logic. In another file they put the styles. In another file they write the test cases for testing it. This is later at the end you can see how it works. But every component can traditionally have three files. So better what we do is, whenever you try to design a component, for every component maintain a folder. And as per the rules, all components must be in which folder? SRC folder. We learned public is for static and SRC for dynamic. So what is the basic rule you need to know is, so make sure that all component files are in SRC folder. Mandatory, that is. All component files are in SRC folder. Better to create a folder for every component. Create a folder for every component. I will give a hierarchy here. You have SRC. In SRC means, according to project traditions, what we do is we put components folder. In components folder, we have some login folder. In this login folder, we will have files login.jsx. So we have login.css and we have login.test.js. Similarly, for every folder, means for every project, means for every component, better to maintain a folder. Suppose later you are having another component called some register. Am I right? Then again for register, what are the files you maintain? So register dot what? JS. That is better. Okay. And we have register dot CSS. So register dot spec. Spec.js or test.js, anything can be a test file. This is the good way of maintaining project files. Why? Because in your React project, not only components, later you have to work with services, hooks, so much concepts will come. Currently, we are learning only components. Then every category we will put in a separate folder. That is a traditional way of keeping the contents. Okay. Now let's add this and see. So first, let's go. In the components now, I will go to SRC folder. In SRC folder, I will add a new folder called, what is it? Components. In that, I will add another folder, one folder login, and select components and add another folder, some register. In the login folder, I am adding three files. Add a new file. One is login.what? JSX. Another one is login.css. Spec file is currently not required. It is a testing file that is required at the end when we learn testing. Okay. Let's design the component now. How to design a component? All rules are same. Component is a function and component name should start with uppercase letter na, and it should return a markup. Am I right? We will return one container. Suppose I will make this container as a form, right? I will make this as a form. And inside this, I am designing a simple heading and say user login. Roughly, we will put some data term. So this is username and a text box. Rules already I explained. All should be self-ending elements, na? So we have like password, fine. And we have input type is password. Okay, then just put a button as login. Now your component is ready, but you cannot use it outside. It is mandatory that you have to mark as export. Am I right? Why you just learned today? If I don't mark as export, I can't use outside. Now, is there any another way? Instead of using here, you can mark as export default login. Am I right? So we can configure login like this, login. You can define in this way also. So generally almost 99% in our React, a file contains only one function, component function. That's the reason lot of situations people have this habit, because only one function will be there and that will be default. That's the reason if you observed, they given one app.jsx na. In app.jsx, you see this use the same technique. Am I right? They are using the same technique. Your wish. It's not necessary that you have to use a default export. What you do directly, you configure as what? Export. So sometimes we need multiple functions in one file also. Then we better use this technique. Okay. Now this login we have to start. That means in the main.jsx, go to main.jsx. Here which component is starting? App. We have to import our component na? Which one? Login from components login.jsx. Am I right? And we have to just use that login here. Understood? That means now you can see it is going to start with that login. Am I right? That means our application starts with this component, but it is not having any styles. We need to set up the styles also, right? So remember, lot of points one by one we will learn. Just we are learning how to use a module system here. Okay. Now what you do is go to login.css and add the styles. But very careful. Generally, you know that when you write CSS, CSS have lot of selectors, type selectors, ID selector, class selector. Am I right? Don't use type selectors. That means don't write form and what styles. That's not good in React especially. Why? Because React is building a single page application. Single page application means HTML page is only one. Then what happens is if I use a type selector, it will affect to all components in my project. Understood? Huh? That means in any another component, if form is there, it will look same. I don't want that. Why? Because it is a single page application, then all styles will be applied to all components. You write for one component, it will affect everywhere. So better always use which one? Class or ID selectors. We use class or ID selectors. Suppose I am using a login form, okay? And we are just adding some effects for this login form. That so this is suppose login container. Login container. What I will do is display flex, justify content center, align items as center, and height as 100 VH, which is viewport height, screen height. Now I want this login container to be used in this login page. How to use a CSS file? Generally you use link tags na, but this is module system. CSS also used with import only. CSS also we have to import. Import CSS file where it is dot slash same page login dot what dot slash, because it is in same folder na, it is in same folder. So login dot CSS, and you see here it is still not working because we have to apply the class name. So what I will do is this entire form I will keep in a div, right? And for that div I will put a class. What is the class? Container, form container. Then you can see that will apply here. Login container, yeah, login container, and it is going to apply that here. Now we want to apply the styles for the form. Then what we do, we will access here form container, and for that border is 2 pixels solid, some gray, and padding is 10 pixel. Then border radius is suppose 20 pixel. Some box shadow is defined with 5 pixel, 2 pixel, 2 pixel, some black. These are all general styling I want to apply for this form, right? Then go here, then we have to apply class name. What is it? Form container. Then it is going to apply to that particular form. We need to apply for that. Font size, all CSS your part. Now only the concept here you need to understand is how to import the files. So one more important thing you should note here is, so what is another point is, so css file is imported. Css file is imported into .jsx. CSS file is imported into .jsx. And one more concept is, so CSS file cannot use type selectors for styling. You can use, but what is problem is, so type selector applies the styles for all occurrences across components, for all occurrences across components. All occurrences across components. So it cannot use type selectors. So it is recommended to use so ID or class selectors. Now every time, see, you design a separate component and you put in the startup. Later we will learn a navigation technique. When we learn a navigation technique, user can stay on one place and every component will come to that location. As of now, while practicing, what you have to do daily is just create one component and add the styles, add the logic, and very important is you keep it in the startup, right? That means what you have to do. So generally, what you see regularly in YouTube channels and websites is what they do. They always keep app component in startup. Understood? Na? And what they will do is they access login inside app. That means if app is in the startup, app will show all this na. Now what they do, they will go to which location, app.jsx. Here they will use which one, login. Am I right? That means now in the app that login is working. People try like this, no problem. But so you don't need to test it in another component, you use test it as individual. Currently you are testing in another component, don't test like that, test individually. That means better always you go to main and change here from app to the component that you have designed. Am I right? Later you will learn navigation how it works. So this is just the concept of styling. And already you learnt bootstrap, how to enable and all, so that we will see in our next session. Okay, so this is enough for today. First you have to try up to this. Okay, then tomorrow we will go in detail about components. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, right. Yes, girls, you can leave first.